From Washington, this is VOA News. I'm Steve Miller reporting. Iranian President Hassan Rouhani warned U.S. President Donald Trump on Tuesday to stay in the nuclear deal Tehran signed with world powers in 2015. Rouhani warned the White House that if it does not live up to the commitments, the Iranian government will firmly react. He said those remarks during a live television broadcast. Trump has said that unless European allies fix what he has called terrible flaws in the deal by May 12th, he will restore U.S. economic sanctions on Iran, which would be a severe blow to the pact. Iran has warned that it will ramp up its nuclear program if the deal collapses. Sagar Meghani outlines what can be expected on day 2 of French President Emmanuel Macron's state visit to the U.S.
They flew Marine One to Mount Vernon yesterday. This morning, Macron's due to be welcomed here by nearly 500 U.S. military members and a gun salute, though a forecast of steady rain could get in the way. In the evening, the Trumps, Macrons, and about 150 guests will be in the state dining room for a dinner that'll feature rack of lamb and entertainment afterward by the Washington National Opera. Sagar Meghani at the White House.
South Korean President Moon Jae-in says he will raise the issue of Japanese citizens who were abducted decades ago by North Korea in his meeting with North Korean leader Kim Jong-un this week. Seoul says the summit between the two leaders will focus on North Korea's disarmament of nuclear weapons. Seoul has also brokered a meeting between Kim Jong-un and U.S. President Donald Trump, which is expected to take place in late May or early June. This is VOA News. Canadian police are looking for a motive behind the attack on pedestrians in Toronto on Monday, in which a man drove a van onto a crowded sidewalk that killed 10 people and injured 15 others. Toronto Police Chief Mark Saunders identified the suspect as 25-year-old Alek Minassian. The federal minister of Public Safety and Emergency Preparedness said there was no reason to suspect that more attacks would come.
On the basis of all available information at the present time, there would appear to be no national security connection to this particular incident.
Minassian was taken into custody a short time after the incident without any trouble, according to the police. Residents of the Philippine city of Marari have returned to salvage their belongings from ruined homes a year after a battle between Islamist militants and government forces. Serena Dayram reports.
It's the first time they've seen their homes since fighting erupted between Philippine government troops and pro-Islamic State fighters last May. The area was off limits for locals until this month when the military cleared it of booby traps and unexploded ordnance. Over 350,000 residents were displaced after hundreds of Islamist insurgents took parts of the city last year. Residents say they are pinning their hopes on President Rodrigo Duterte's promise to rebuild the city. Rehabilitation work is scheduled to start in June.
North Korean leader Kim Jong-un has visited the survivors of a devastating tourist bus crash that killed at least 36 people, mostly Chinese tourists, in North Korea on Sunday. Ed Giles has more.
Analysts say Kim has undergone a media makeover in recent months, beginning with a New Year speech signalling his willingness to take part in the Olympics. It's a softer image for the North Korean leader ahead of planned talks with South Korea and the United States. The crash site was in North Hwanghae province on the border with South Korea. It's home to Kaesong, an ancient Korean capital often thronged with tourists from overseas. Chinese make up around 80% of foreign visitors to North Korea, and tourism is a major source of revenue for the isolated country.
A report by a British-based conservation group says rising Chinese demand for products made from elephant skin is driving poaching and posing an even greater risk to Asia's wild herds than the ivory trade. Former U.S. President George H.W. Bush has been hospitalized in Houston with an infection after attending the funeral of his wife Barbara. The 93-year-old Bush is responding to treatments and appears to be recovering. Barbara Bush, his wife, was laid to rest Saturday. From Washington, I'm Steve Miller, VOA News.
That's the latest world news from VOA.